afternoon, everyone, and welcome to one of RVN's still newer television shows, What the Why with Barbara Ann. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured things out. Maybe you feel stuck and want to get unstuck, or maybe you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired in your business or personal life, or even in running your large company. You have something in common with all of our guests. The main thing our guests have in common is at some point in time they all felt similarly and they did something to change it. And today's guest, who is returning from last week, is no exception. If you didn't see our episode last week, our guest today is Marty Pack, who is founder and executive director and creative producer of Whale of the Tail Productions. She's based in Ohio, and she's an intellectual creative with a vision. Her academic and investigative research brings a level of compassion to an honest story that she tells. Her desire to educate fuels her drive to teach the underlying causes of marginalization and disinvestment. Now, just to refresh your memory, although hopefully if you didn't see our last episode, you're going to immediately go and watch our last episode on demand. Marty's production of The Takeover of Testing was the first to authentically show the marginalization of Black, Indigenous, people of color, otherwise known as BIPOC communities. Using eugenics policies of the testing movement, she was also one of, if not the first, to educate the community about the school-to-prison pipeline through her film. True to the documentary's investigation, we can see the devastation wrought by the destructive policies that started out as good intentions and became unintended consequences. And sadly, this film remains highly relevant more than 10 years later. The other film, which we didn't get a chance to talk about last week, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about this week, was her second, which was Maria's story, Undocumented Violence. And it looked at an undocumented woman surviving an abusive marriage, gaining legal status, and achieving the American dream. It was used to educate social work students and the public at Governor State University. And the film is now used by the Archdiocese of Chicago's domestic violence outreach program to inspire the undocumented community to get help. Her background includes relationship building, production, teaching, and research. While raising 2 children on her own, she worked full-time and graduated summa cum laude with a self-directed bachelor's degree in communication production, and went on to earn a master's in political science from Northeastern University, and where she's done groundbreaking research on domestic violence through the lens of Catholicism. She's also studied public health and public affairs at the University of Colorado, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today as well. Although admittedly, her most loved education experience was improv at Second City in Chicago. She's held teaching roles in both Columbus State Community College and the K-12 schools in political science, and another role we're going to be talking about a little bit more in depth is serving as a COVID investigator for Grand County, Ohio Public Health throughout the COVID pandemic experience, and where that has since led her to some of her more recent projects that she's working on today. So without further ado, I'm so excited to have Marty Pack back for part 2 of our conversation about her why. So without further ado, please welcome her. So yay! Thank you, Marty.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to be back.
I'm so glad you were able to join us for today. And so let's jump right into it, because we've already asked the questions that we asked all our guests last week in terms of what you wanted to be when you grew up and why. But if you could just really, really briefly recap, how did you get from where you were as a child who wanted to do some really cool things to where you are today as an adult who's doing some really cool things?
I, through a series of bad jobs, bad advice, and really, after my children were born, finding the correct path. And that started with education, really, with really exploring my intellectual side. And I'll tell you how Whale of a Tale started. Speaking of that, so at the start of the pandemic, first week of shutdown, it was me and Prime Trucks traveling across country from Ohio to Colorado to start a second master's in public health there. While I was there, I took a job with my local county public health department in Colorado and began COVID investigating. It was not a pleasant job. So let me just say where I was at in Colorado, it was a very conservative area, lots of ranchers, ski resort area, and a lot of hostility happening there, which was not pleasant. So as I'm in this job, I began hearing and listening to stories of people who were not recovering from COVID or were getting better, but then got sick again, had these long-lasting symptoms. And with all of the pressure and with the lack of mitigation, middle of last year, I kind of saw that trajectory that they were going to take away all this mitigation. I could no longer really ethically work for public health because I saw and I see now the damage that it's causing. So December 31st, I quit my job, started at Whale of a Tale. We got our 501c3 designation, and I've been going headstrong ever since. And that's how we came to be.
Which is awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, and just so everyone's clear, as Marty mentioned, Whale of a Tale, or WOTE, is a 501c3 nonprofit educational documentary film organization. So all of the money that's donated to support the work you do is tax deductible. And you are doing some really important work. And I do want to talk about that work, but I did also, like I mentioned, I wanted to revisit the domestic violence piece that you did right before we delve into that, because that in of itself was some groundbreaking work, and just the fact that you have entities like the Catholic Diocese using it as an educational tool is really powerful. So how did you come up with the idea to document the domestic violence journey of undocumented women, a very real problem that does not get enough coverage?
You know, I was going through a very dark period in my life when I decided to do this piece, or when I really focused on this piece, and it really was a way to bring me out of where I was, helping others, right? Telling other people's stories. It's what I do. It's what I love. And focusing on them really helped me discover who I was and what I wanted and the direction that I wanted to go. So you know, it's all about connections. It's all about making these relationships, building these relationships. And Maria, oh my gosh, it took me a while to find Maria. I started networking with immigration lawyers to see if they could find individuals who were willing to tell their story and what that meant.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're talking about a population that's already vulnerable, and now you're adding a whole other layer of vulnerability to what is happening to them. And where can they go? And how willing are they to tell what's going on with them?
It's a difficult situation that they're in. And Maria is not alone. It's very common. Yeah. Her story. She was, you know, human trafficked. Yeah. Met a guy, fell in love. He said, "I'm going to take care of you in the U.S." You know. Made all of these promises. Our kids can come later. It's going to be great. So she got here, and She had no access to any kind of support system.
Yeah.
Language was an issue. She didn't speak English. Her husband only wanted her to go back and forth from work to home. No friends, no community. There was no way to get out of this situation, she thought. So she couldn't dress a certain way. Her husband and his friends talked badly about her. He was violent, incredibly violent. So it was a difficult situation.
That's so unfortunate.
And the good news is that she was able to find help. She was in Chicago through a domestic violence organization that helps women who are in her position. And it started really with, and how it is for, I think, most women who are abused, building their self-esteem, right? Really trying to understand the history of their lives. In Maria's case, it was religion.
Yeah.
Right. Her mom was abused. She grew up watching her mom be abused, and coming out of the frame of mind that well, if my mom can do it, then I can certainly do it. Right? Why I can take a beating if she took a beating.
Wow.
So it's really about getting that help, building that self-esteem, and switching the outlook and switching about how you feel and taking control of your life and who you want to be. It's really discovering all of that for her and most victims. And thank goodness, she got help. She was able to get in contact with an immigration lawyer who got her and her children green cards. I really, if you have a chance, really, I strongly suggest going to look at this piece. It's a 40-minute piece. And I can't articulate the really destructive behavior that she had been through and has overcome, and has blossomed into your typical immigrant story. Right? She's now part of the U.S. She has bought a house. She has her and her family have started their own business. It's the typical American dream.
Right.
And I truly believe if we give a little bit of help on the front end, we are going to see that 10 times over on the back end.
Yeah.
Like her and her family love being here.
Yeah.
Her kids are in college. She's
it's
thriving. Just amazing they have come through.
Yeah, so she's thriving. So
absolutely.
We have to go to break, but what I wanted to share with you is hopefully your film's already going to change at least one life I know, because I referred to the organization. I gave the information for the organization to someone who's in the Chicago area who's looking for help for a relative. So I did want to share that with you. I'm sure it's helped countless others, but it was information I otherwise wouldn't have had. So we're going to be right back after the break, and we're going to talk about how Marty has now moved, like she said, into the COVID space and seeing the effects of that. So please come back after this short commercial break with us. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann, and for part 2 of our very special conversation with our guest, Marty Pack, who is the founder and creative director of the nonprofit film organization Whale of a Tale Productions. And we took a pause because I really wanted to talk about Maria's story, the film that she had done before COVID. But now we're going to go back and revisit the conversation, because you created Whale of a Tale, as you said, you had taken a job investigating COVID for public health, and you saw what was coming in terms of the lack of support and the disparities. So talk to us about how you got the courage to say, okay, I need to do something here.
I don't know if it was courage or something else, but when I see something, an injustice or something that's happening, it's a calling. It really is. I really feel like it's a calling for me to expose these things that are happening, right? And what really was the tipping point for me was policy, was the lack of mitigation policy that we're still seeing now.
Yes.
So when you have a policy or lack of policy, in this case mitigation, that prevents a group of people from going into a space, right? And in this case, a public space, your grocery store, or an indoor space without any, masking or 6 feet of distance. Immunocompromised individuals, right? Disabled individuals, they are risking their lives. They're literally risking their lives going into these places. Yep. So when you have a restriction, not having the community, not having everybody safely being able to go into public spaces, that is that is a lens of eugenics, right? We're prohibiting people from going into places. We're allowing them to risk their lives in order to get basic necessities, or in a lot of cases, frontline workers, right? They have to go to work. They can't, miss a day of work.
Right.
So you have these people in very precarious situations in order to survive. That's a problem. That is a huge issue. And so it was really what propelled me to do this. I mean, I have to. I have to.
And you're right. You're right. You're absolutely, because the people, many of the people who were frontline were also the ones who were least likely to have access to medical care, unable to take days off because they didn't have sick time, unable to find childcare support when schools were shut down, put in danger as soon as mask policies were lifted prematurely. They were the most affected and the least supported. And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, it's scary. Our documentary really is looking at BIPOC, LGBTQ plus. There's a huge attack on LGBTQI plus. Healthcare, immigrant workers, migrant workers, of course, Native American. All of these marginalized, communities are feeling the full brunt of COVID and what it did, and in relation, long COVID, right? So, I just want to give you some facts.
Absolutely.
Roughly about 25% of everyone who has had a COVID infection will develop long COVID. If you get multiple infections of COVID, your chance of getting long COVID increases. We are seeing about 46% of long COVID patients meet the criteria for MECFS. I'm gonna massacre this, but it's myalgic encephalomyelitis.
Yeah, I know. I massacre it too. But yeah, myalgic encephalitis, fatigue.
Chronic fatigue syndrome. And we're at 46% of long COVID patients. That is crazy. They're also developing POTS, posturoorthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and it's a disorder of the autonomic our nervous system.
Autonomic nervous system. Yep.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
all
you.
right. Because remember, because full disclosure, yeah, I'm in this space too. So I am one of the many faces of long COVID. This does, you're talking numbers for me. This is very personal. I also I was part of that very first wave. And so I first got sick in March of 2020. And some of these crazy acronyms that you're throwing around are acronyms that also apply to me in terms of sets of initials and acronyms. And it's funny because we kind of get used to it. I know we're tripping over sometimes, because it's like, okay, I've developed ranties and I've, developed, this and that and the other thing, and we've all had to become medical experts because this pandemic shined a spotlight on how severe the cracks were in an already broken system.
Yeah, we are messed up. We really are.
Yeah.
And I just want to try and educate people who see this also. So, number one, get your vaccine. It will not prevent long COVID if you get, but it can reduce it by about 15%.
And let's be clear, it was never supposed to prevent it. The flu vaccine does not prevent the flu. The COVID vaccine does not prevent COVID. It just makes it less. 93% of fatalities are people who were not vaccinated.
Yes. But it does not prevent you from getting long COVID.
It does not.
Also. And so even if you're asymptomatic or you have mild COVID, there's still a chance that you will develop long COVID, right? And after your COVID infection, your immune system, you are immunocompromised after your COVID infection.
And that's me.
You have about 8 months for your immune system to come back.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too if you're going out to other places, because we have some really crazy stuff happening now.
Yes.
Our hospitals, pediatric hospitals are being overrun with RSV. The flu is going to be incredibly bad this year. So really keep your kids safe, because who knows if they're going to be able to get medical care later down the road.
Yeah.
With pediatric beds already, at capacity in a lot of hospitals.
Yeah.
It's a very scary situation.
Yeah, and it's not being talked about because, and you're right, and it's not being talked about because of the political environment we're in, because nobody wants to talk about it during an election. But in reality, the situation is still the situation as it has been. It's just not getting coverage. And so another key thing that we want to talk about is, so many people compare it to the flu. And what we're finding is that this virus does not function like the flu. It functions more like HIV and other viruses. I mean, I've actually taken medication as a long COVID patient that's used to treat lupus and HIV and rheumatoid arthritis, not medication that's used to treat the flu.
Yeah, we're still learning so much about it, and it is a very scary proposition when we have no mitigation and people are getting sick and children keep getting reinfected. I'm at my wit's end with this.
Which is why you've started Whale of a Tale.
I wanted to circle back around in regards to policy. So the Biden administration has a gentleman, Ezekiel Emanuel, on his COVID advisory board. And he wrote an article, 2014, I believe, that says he hopes to die at 75. He wants to die at 75 because he doesn't want his body to deteriorate, right? To be in a position where he may be disabled. So we're saying that disabled people, we're already saying disabled people shouldn't be out in public sphere, right? In public spaces. It scares me that we have someone like this in office.
Yeah.
That is, has this lens, right? And we're as far as privatization of the school system that I investigated, I'm now looking at privatization of healthcare. So or the beginnings of it, really. So when we have organizations like Amazon, JP Morgan Chase, CVS Pharmacy jumping into the healthcare game, that is a warning sign. That's a big bell going off in my head, because it says to me that these organizations, there's going to be a lot of money to be made in healthcare with these organizations.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to benefit the communities that are marginalized. I promise you. They're not altruistic companies. They are looking for ways to make big money. And I'm terrified right now. I'm kind of connecting the dots, seeing how this is going to play out. And I'm screaming into the void here. I'm raising the alarm. It's going to be an interesting future.
But that said, we're hearing you. A lot of us are hearing you, and thank you so much for standing up for all of us, with us, alongside of us, helping to tell the story of what's really going on, because people really do need to know what the reality of the situation is. And to your point, the fact that big money is so involved should tell you everything you need to know about where this is headed and how we need to stop it before it does get any worse than it already is. So, believe it or not, we're out of time again. But I think this time we actually did manage to get everything that we wanted to get in. So thank you so much for coming back for part 2. And then when the film does come out, we want to have you come back again to talk about it, because it's going to be very important from an educational standpoint. I really look forward to seeing it. Really quick, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you again?
You can get a hold of me at Marty, MARTY, at Whale, WAIL, of a tale, TALE.org.
Great. And if you have a story, you can also share that on Marty's site as well, because she's always the more voices we have, the more we can combine, the more we can stand together to deal with the issues.
Email me and send me a link. We have a new website actually that's going up very shortly.
Awesome.
And I just want to say I cannot do this alone. I have an amazing team behind me. And I'm very excited about our future and where we're headed with this film.
Awesome. And so thank you again for coming back for part 2. And as for our upcoming episodes, we've got some really great guests coming up, including Julia Gandy, CEO of Embodying Wellness, Bonnie Clayton, owner of The Web Chick, Anita Grace Brown, author and yoga teacher at Groovology, Tom Drucker, CEO of Consultants in Corporate Innovation and a psychological safety specialist, Dr. Kevin Garina, who is a chiropractor, health expert, and host of RVN's Own Unwinding Stress, and Lisa Hillerin, author and owner of Lisa Hillerin LLC, who was my first ever guest coming back for an update. Believe me, you don't want to miss what any of these exciting guests have to say about their journeys and how they figured them out. As a reminder, What the Why airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. and Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and is also available on demand through RVN Television and Roku. And please remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career, big or small, please join us again for more inspirational and informative conversations with people such as Marty and others who wanted to make changes in their life or in what they see going on around them, and overcame whatever fears and obstacles were in their path to find their purpose and live it.